Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel Accounts Guru Cool. Learn accounting online. So today we are here to discuss one of our viewers' questions related to the complex interview questions, or you can say the one case study what one of our viewers shared with us. But from that one case study, or if such kind of case study is going to, if someone is put in interview, then that one complex interview question is going to ensure 50% probability to clear the interview. And that what sort of case study is there, what sort of questions is there, that's we are going to discuss here. In addition to that, from that one question itself, if I'm going to ask the same question to all of you, and before going to go into the end of this content, if you stop at yourself at a first stage, and if you uh, gone through with that questions what we are going to discuss now in a case study, and if you try to put the answer for that, and if your answer is clear, once you're done you can come back and watch again for that, and if your answer is correct, you're ready to go and give the interview for R2R. In that one case study itself, you have to analyze your skill or present your skills related to unbilled revenue, how you're going to do the entry for revenue, how you are going to do the reversal of unbilled revenue, how you're going to take the entry for deferred revenue, how you're going to take the entry when you have the receipt from your customer, how you're going to do the revenue booking from deferred revenue, how you're going to take the accrued expense entry, how you're going to do the entry for expense booking, how you're going to do the entry for reversal of accruals, how you're going to take the entry for prepaid expenses, how you're going to take the entry for payment to vendor, and how you are going to expense of prepaid expenses. That's a 12 concept going to analyze by interviewers through the one complex interview questions when he's going to put that case study in front of you. That's we are going to discuss here. And thanks to that viewers who ask to us create the content on that case study, and that's as it is what we have from the viewers, and we are going to discuss for that. So request viewers to be with us till the end to know in one complex interview questions how we are going to uh, give the answer for 12 concept related to accounting and finance. Request viewers to like, share, and subscribe our channel to get a more uh, insight about accounting and finance, more practical knowledge related to accounting and finance. And in addition to that, if you want to go for any sort of training related to R2R, P2P, O2C, or any software training related to accounting and finance, you can connect with us on our email ID accounts.gurukul@yahoo.com. In addition to that, if you want to outsource any sort of work related to accounting and finance, you can connect with us on our email ID. That's the finance@divedeeperllp.in. So we'll jump towards the that case study what we have from one of our viewers. Here we are. This is the what we have from one of our viewers is that we are the cleaning service provider. This is just I have added here as it is what we have from one of our viewers. That's going to be we are the cleaning service provider and have contract for 1 year for rupees 12,000. That's a Jan to December. Monthly charges is rupees 1,000 is 1,000 rupees. In Jan and Feb, we have provided the service but not raised invoice and received any payment. In March, we have raised invoice but not received the payment. Just try to understand what we have the case study here is that the cleaning service, we are the cleaning service provider and have a contract for 1 year. That's a 12,000. The contract is going to be from Jan to December. and the monthly is going to be 1000 rupees. Jan to Feb, we have provided service but not raised invoice and not received any payment. That's the one thing. In March, we have raised invoice but not received payment. In April, we have received full year payment. How the journal entries we will pass for the whole year in our books as a service provider, how the journal entries we will pass for the whole year in our books as a service receiver. Please make one content on this. So this is what we have from one of our viewers. And in this, we are going to discuss how this is going to be answered for this. And trust me, if you have received any such kind of questions in your written skill or in a written exam, how you're going to give to that. And instead of asking the n number of questions, if someone is going to ask such kind of complex questions and it asks you to put the answer for that, in that question itself, when you are going to give the answer, he is able to know how depth you have the knowledge about accounting and finance. And that's going to be analyzed through the one question itself. There is no need to ask the n number of questions. It's going to be this question itself is going to take care for the 12 concept of accounting and finance. And remaining is going to be asked for the reporting and the people management or taxation. So in each concept or on each concept, we can create or we have such kind of one questions which is going to ensure that there is no need to ask the further questions on that. So coming back to this, we are here to discuss on this. If you want to go at your end and try, you can go and just try to give the, or you just try to plot the answer for this. So you will able to get an answer on that. And once you done, come back and see the answer here. So now coming back to the first, before going to give the answer for any such kind of case studies or any complex interview questions, it's better you have to just go through once again with that questions. Try to split that questions in a multiple ways wherever the full stop is there and try to understand that. Then that's going to be helpful for you to put the journal entry for that or answer for that. So there should not be any hurry for that. So we are the cleaning service. So we will see first in service provider book. So this is going to be in the book of service provider. So we have to evaluate in his books. Then we are the cleaning service provider. So we are providing the cleaning services and have contract for 1 year. That contract is going to be from Jan to December. The monthly charges is 1000. For Jan and Feb, we have provided service, but not raised invoice and not received any payment as well. Neither we have received any advance payment from our customers, nor we have raised invoice on him, but we have provided the services to him. So now, when you deliver the services to your client, and if you haven't raised invoice on him, then you have to take the entry for unbilled revenue. That revenue is generated, but you haven't raised the invoice. So you have to consider in your books as a unbilled revenue. So the first entry is going to be for the Jan, that's a 24, you can say that. That's going to be your unbilled revenue, that's assets account is going to debit to the next is going So the first entry is going to be for Jan 24 when you have delivered the services, but you haven't raised the invoice for that. That's the unbilled revenue assets account debit to unbilled revenue account credit. And this is going to be, this unbilled revenue is going to park towards the assets and this one towards the P&L income. And the amount is going to be 1,000 and 1,000. This is going to be only for Jan, for which you have delivered the services. The same is going to be there for the month of Feb as well, which says you have provided the service but not raised invoice. Now in the month of March, we have raised invoice but not received payment. So the entry is going to be for invoice booking in the month of March is your respective that when customer, that's the AR account is going to be debit to your revenue account credit. This is going to be your asset and this is for your income. And you are going to do here for 12,000. Since we have raised invoice but not received payment in March. So this is going to be your customer account debit to revenue account credit. Now, what you have considered the unbilled revenue for Jan and Feb, that you have to do the reversal when you raise the invoice for that. So here you have raised invoice for entire period for the 12 month. So now you have to do the reversal of this unbilled in March, and that's going to be your unbilled revenue account is going to be debit to your unbilled revenue asset account credit. This is going to be on March 24, or you have to take this entry on March 24. This is going to be your income, and this is going to less from your assets, and that's going to be 2,000. What you have the unbilled revenue in the books. Now the next is going to be, so here we discuss about the unbilled revenue, invoice booking, and reversal of unbilled revenue. And the next is going to be related to the same for the March 24. Since you raise this invoice for the entire period, that's going to be from Jan to till December, and you reach in the month of March. So you are eligible to consider the revenue only for that 3 months. That's for the Jan, Feb, and March. And the remaining 9 months, you haven't yet provided the services. So you are going to provide the service for that in the future. So you have to take the entry to reclassify this revenue from P&L to balance sheet towards liability as a deferred revenue. So your revenue account is going to be debit for that 9,000 to deferred revenue account credit. And this is going to be less from your revenue, and this is going to be parked towards the liability side. And that's going to be this 12,000 less this 2 and one more for the revenue pertaining to March. So this is going to be take the entry for deferred revenue. And if you see in the month of March, how it's there in the books, revenue is credited 12,000 less reduce unbilled revenue and what you have transferred towards the deferred revenue. So if you see in the books that the revenue is booked only 1,000. This is going to be about the deferred revenue. Now in April, it's mentioned in April, we have received the full year payment. So your entry is going to be in the month of April. That's your bank account is going to debit to your ER account is going to credit. This is your assets and this is reduced from your assets. And that's going to be the entire amount for which you have raised the invoice. That's a 12,000. Now, in April 24, you have to book the revenue since you deliver the service for April as well. So you are going to take the entry for deferred revenue account debit. You are going to reduce that amount pertaining to April from there, and you are going to take towards the revenue. That's going to be 1,000, 1,000. This is going to be reduced from liability and going to credit to your revenue account. The same entry you have to take in the books for remaining month till December 24. So here we discuss about how you're going to take the entry for unbilled revenue, how you're going to book the invoice in the systems, how you're going to do the reversal of unbilled revenue, how you're going to take the entry for deferred revenue, how you're going to take the entry for receipt from customer, and the sixth, how you're going to book the revenue from the deferred revenue. That's the entries you have to post in service provider book. Now, the same we are going to discuss in the books of service receiver. So now in the books of service receiver, how that's going to work. So the first, when the service is delivered, it means you have received that services. And the accrual concept says that you have to book as an expense as and when you avail the services. So here you have availed the service or you received the service for the month of Jan and Feb, but you haven't received the invoice for that. So you are going to take the accruals for that. So your entry is going to be your cleaning services account debit to accrued expenses account credit. And this is going to be for 1,000 and 1,000. This is pertaining to for Jan. Same you have to accrue for the month of Feb as well, since you avail the service for Feb as well. And when you are going to reach in the March, you have received the invoice for entire amount. That's a 12,000. So you are going to take the entry for that is cleaning services account debit for 12,000 to vendor account credit. That's going to be 12,000. So you have booked that as a liability here. And in March, since you booked the entire invoice, so you have to do the reversal of earlier accruals, what you have booked in the books. So that's going to be accrued expenses account debit to cleaning services account credit. So you are going to do the reversal of what you have considered the accrual. That's going to be 2,000. That's a 2,000. Now, this is going to be reversal of your accrued expenses. When you are going to reach in the March, again for the March, you book this cleaning services for 12,000. And this is not pertaining to for the April, May, Jan, Feb, and March. This is for the entire year. That's a Jan to December. You avail the services only for 3 months and you haven't received the services yet for the remaining 9 months. But you have booked that in the books. So you have to take that towards the prepaid expenses. So your entry is going to be prepaid expenses account debit to your cleaning services account credit. So you are going to reduce that to the 9,000. That's going to be reduced from your cleaning services, since this is going to be for the future period for which you haven't received the services. So prepaid expense account debit to cleaning services account credit. When you reach in the April, you have done the payment for the invoice what you have booked. So your entry is going to be your vendor account is debit, since you have done the payment to your vendor, to bank account is credit, and that's going to be 12,000. Now, when you are in April, you have to do the expense booking from your prepaid expenses. So your entry is going to be cleaning services account debit to prepaid expense account credit. Since you are going to book that as a expenses, since you have received the services for April 24. Now the same entry is going to be there till December 24 in your books as a prepaid expense of entry in the books. So you're booking the expenses once you avail the service for that, and you are reducing from your prepaid expenses. So here as well, what we have discussed is that what is mean by accrued expenses. The accrued expense, it means if you incur any expenses and you haven't recorded that in the books, then you have to take the accruals. How you're going to book the expense invoice processing entry when you have the invoice, that's a cleaning services account debit to vendor account credit. How you're going to do the reversal of your accrued expenses, so you have to debit to accrued expense and you have to credit to your cleaning services once you book the invoice in the system. If the expenses belongs to the future period for which we haven't received the services yet, so we have to reclassify that expenses towards the prepaid expenses. So your entry is going to be your prepaid expenses account debit to cleaning services account credit for future period. When you are going to do the payment, so your vendor account is going to debit to your bank account is credit for the payment. When you are going to use that service, what you park in a prepaid expense, so your entry is going to be due the expense of prepaid expenses or expense booking from the prepaid expenses, that cleaning services account debit to prepaid expenses account credit, and the same you have to carry forward till December 24, since the cleaning service contract is from Jan to December. So that's what we have discussed here through the one case study, what we have from one of our viewers. So that's all from this, and what we learn from this one case study about the 12 concepts of accounting and how you're going to do the journal entry for that. If you are going to give the answer of such kind of questions, then your 50% or more than 50% probability that's going to be created to crack the interview. So thanks guys for being with us till the end. Request viewers to like, share, and subscribe our channel to get a more practical knowledge related to accounting and finance. Thank you.